Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Sagittarius Rising Survival Guide. If you are or know or love a Sagittarius Rising, this is going to give you a lot of insight into your or their life. So I'm very excited. Sagittarius is one of my absolute favorite rising signs. My best friend is a Sag Rising. I'm a Pisces Rising. We're both Jupiter ruled. I just love that Sag Risings are generally very optimistic people who always look for the bright side. As a Pisces Rising, I really relate to this. I feel like it's such a rare quality in this like horrid world in which we live, because I feel like there's so much like doomerism and like negativity and pessimism in our current society, and I'm always like, things will get better. And a lot of people have trouble like relating to that, and they accuse me of being toxic positivity, whatever that means. But I'm like, we need optimists in this world because we can't manifest and envision and build a brighter and better world without people who live and breathe like optimism and hope and joy. And that is a Sagittarius rising. Before we get into it, my name is Jessie James. I'm a professional astrologer. I'm doing a series of a survival guide for all of the rising signs. I started with Libra, really random. So I've done Libra rising, Scorpio rising, and this is my third installment, the Sagittarius rising survival guide. I'm doing this series to like help people, like to help you better understand what your chart means for you and like how to work with it instead of trying to fit the societal mold that other people have created for you and work against some of your innate talents and capabilities, and to combat the pop astrology / co-star like idea that if you don't have a planet in one of the signs, then you don't have that sign in your chart at all. It's very annoying how co-star does like the little list of the signs and then only includes the signs that you have planets in. It's like, that's not how a birth chart works. I don't know. And there's so much stigma against certain signs, specifically Scorpio and Gemini, and like for certain signs, like, I don't know, people like really love Libras and I guess Taurus. They're both Venus ruled. Like that makes sense as something to love. I don't have anything against Libras or Tauruses, but I don't think that they're like necessarily any better than other signs. And once again, you have every sign in your birth chart anyway. It's just in a different place. And so for Sagittarius risings, this is your sign layout in your chart and how that impacts you. So as a Sagittarius rising, your first house is Sagittarius. This is where the sun was rising at the moment of your birth. Sagittarius is really a truth seeker. It's the archer, it's the centaur. It's all about mythology and mysticism and spirituality and belief systems and journeys and foreign lands and higher education and language and adventure. So as a Sagittarius rising, all of that is just baked into you. That is just who you are. You are a truth seeker. You seek to gain wisdom and to learn knowledge and to go on adventures and to meet people from faraway places and to have so many experiences and broaden your perspective and broaden yourself and become someone who is incredibly worldly and storied and an adventurer. Your rising sign can usually indicate your appearance, and Sag risings are some of the most beautiful people, but also I think are just like so identifiable. I can very easily look at someone and be like, they're probably a Sagittarius rising. And these physical features are just like a haphazard grace, friendly open faces, sparkling eyes, pointy chins, and incredible legs. A great derriere, if you know what I mean. You can also recognize you guys because you're very cheerful and uplifting and optimistic. And because Jupiter is your chart ruler, you stumble into fortune and auspicious coincidences wherever you go. As a child, you were probably very playful with a sunny disposition. Unlike some other rising signs, you can come from like a very supportive household, or you can come from a household where you weren't given a lot of like room to be your own person. And those things molded you in different ways, but you still have the Sagittarius rising qualities no matter what. It's just like if you were given free rein to adventure, you probably built up more of that bravery and courage and zest for life from an early age and were encouraged to go on your adventures. And if you were kept on a tighter leash, then you probably developed like a more rebellious attitude and like I don't care what you say, I am going on my adventure. That's who I am. That's what I'm called to do. And so you will find Sag risings who have very like wildly different childhoods and upbringings. This is different than say like a Leo rising who has Scorpio on the fourth house, who like almost universally had like a pretty traumatic childhood. But as a Sag rising child, things like spending time in nature, physical activity, being allowed to imagine and dream were very important to you. You probably really enjoyed fantasy stories and stories about quests and mythical lands. Those were probably something that just like innately called to your soul. One of your biggest drivers in this life is to identify and find and eliminate these like artificial limitations that society places on us. Like you have to think a certain way, you have to walk a certain way, you have to get a certain kind of job, you have to go to school, you have to do things in this order, you have to get married and have kids. This is where a Sagittarius rising is going to be like, who said I have to do that and why? Because I want to do things my own way. And so they're constantly looking for ways that they artificially box themselves in or believe in limits that aren't actually there, and ways to break down those limits and do things their own way. Sagittarius risings are so important in society for this reason. I think Jupiter ruled people in general are, because they're always very quick to point out like, why are you doing that? That's not actually a limitation. You just think it is. So that people can deconstruct the social constructs that they've been brainwashed into, born into, and do something different and live a better and happier and more full life. As a Sagittarius rising, you are gifted with the charisma and the wisdom of Jupiter, and as such tend to seem older and more wise when you're young, and younger and more youthful and adventurous when you're old. You're a charming, witty, and enigmatic person who can very quickly go from being very witty and jovial to being very rational and observant. You contain multitudes. Moving on to the second house, which is all about value. This is monetary value. It's an earth house. It's about like the money that you make from whatever you do to make money in this world. But it's also about self-worth. It's about the ways that you value yourself. And it's about your value systems and the things that you value in general. And as a Sagittarius rising, your second house is Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is a planet of limitations. So Saturn on the second house, Saturn ruling the second house, indicates limitations to your self-worth and self-esteem. As a Sagittarius rising, you can spend a lot of your life like in your own imagination, in your dream world, running around in this world that you've created in your head. But when it comes down to like making those dreams a reality, sometimes you can get so frozen because you're like, I don't know if I'm the right person to do this. Like, I don't know if I have all of the right skills. And that's Saturn on your second house, providing limitations here, but not limitations for the sake of limitations. Saturn provides limitations, but rewards hard work to overcome them, to do the actual work to make your dreams a reality or accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, so that you can say, actually, I did that. Actually, I am the right person to bring my dreams to life because I did it. Sagittarius risings are very good at setting long-term goals. You really believe in the value of hard work, and you're willing to do what it takes to achieve your goals. However, Saturn is not very risky, and so Sagittarius risings have like really big dreams and adventures and such, but when it comes to investments of your money and your time, safe and stable is much more your speed. You're not like a very high risk person. This is someone who's like, I can dream big dreams in my mind, but I'm going to put my money in like bonds or whatever. I don't know anything about finance. Something that gives me like a smaller yet more reliable return. Same for your time. You know, you're not going to waste your time doing anything. Your time is very important to you. You understand its preciosity as a resource. And so you are very careful about what you choose to do and what you choose to spend your time on. Although time spent in your head going on crazy adventures or watching or reading or otherwise consuming fantasy content is time that is never wasted. Your self-worth is very strongly tied to your goal fulfillment. So Achieving your goals gives you a really strong surge of self-worth. And that's Saturn. Once again, if you do the hard work, you will be rewarded. If you make the sacrifices, you will be rewarded. And it's common for Sag risings to want to like spend their younger years really building a solid foundation, building a savings account, an investment portfolio, and maybe even like a real estate portfolio so that they can go on big, crazy adventures and travel a lot the rest of their lives and not have to worry about like not being able to live or have somewhere to live. Your third house is Aquarius, which is also ruled by Saturn, but the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, and Aquarius is very innovative. As a Sagittarius rising, you don't like to think about things or like work on things that other people have thought about and worked on before. This is sort of giving, I think, the Three of Pentacles, but like where two ideas, two topics, two subject matters come together, you're the vessel for them to like integrate and create a third new thing that is not one or the other, but a combination of the two. Like you are a pioneer. You are constantly creating new things and thinking new thoughts that no one has ever thought before. The downside to this is that it can feel very lonely because when you're ahead of the curve, you don't have everyone else there with you. Like you feel like a lot of people don't understand you. You can also feel like judged or chastised sometimes for always looking for deeper meanings in a world and a society where we are really rewarded and praised for taking things at face value. And you also have such a strong intellectual intuition where you can connect point A to point Z in no time at all. And so when you're explaining like your points or a concept or something, people can be like, how do those two things relate to each other? Like, how did this one thought turn into this thought? I don't understand. And that is really frustrating. I struggle with that too as a Pisces rising. It's just like, why don't you guys just know what I'm talking about? How can this not make sense to you? And unfortunately, I did just learn that more than 50% of Americans have not read one single book in the past year. Yeah, so I'm really understanding more and more why other people don't understand the logical jumps that I make. And it is lonely. You just got to find your people. You got to surround yourself with other smart people who understand you. And you can't feel bad when people don't understand you. It's not your fault for being really smart and like forward thinking. It's just who you are. It's a gift. It's an asset. It just has downsides, like everything. You have this like strong innate willingness to question anything and everything, and people will either love or hate you because of this. And what the people who love you will need to understand is that you are not like starting a confrontation or a debate because you like don't like that person or you're like very combative. You're just trying to broaden your own mind and understand different perspectives. And you do that through debating and having conversations about topics with people. But when you get someone who's like immediately on the defensive, that's probably not the person to have that debate or confrontation with. You need to learn to pick your battles or pick your conversations, honestly. Your fourth house is Pisces, and the fourth house is the very bottom of your chart, the root of your chart. It's all about your family, where you come from, your origins, your ancestry, and your soul. And so this means that other people really don't see this side of you. They don't so much see this very dreamy Piscean way that you exist when you're alone in your own home. You are probably a very sensitive child who was always wondering how the things around you worked. You just wanted to know more, and you are very intuitive. You can pick up on the slightest change in energies. I think that having a mutable rising sign in general does this, because mutable signs have just such a strong ability to pick up on energies and then turn themselves into a chameleon to fit into any situation. And with Pisces on the fourth house, you have a really strong yearning for somewhere that feels like home. We're all born with this idea of home, like a home that feels really great and where we belong. And some people are born into families that already feel like home, very loving, supportive families where they feel understood. And that's amazing. Many of us are not. We go through this life with this like yearning to find that home. And with Pisces on the fourth house, that home is something that's not even tangible. It's so like transcends the physical realm. It's all about energy. It's all about feeling. Once again, you are very sensitive to energies. This is like you will know home when you feel it. When you walk into it, you will be like, I belong in this place. And so that is what you as a Sagittarius rising, through all your adventures and through all your journeys and such, you are also seeking a place that feels like home to you. And that will absolutely change over the years. Some people just are not meant to settle down and stay in the same place forever. And Sagittarius risings are some of those people. Mutable rising signs are some of those people. It's very important for you that whatever environment you call home, like your apartment or your house or wherever you live, is very serene and tranquil and a safe place for you to retreat and recharge. The outside world is very chaotic and noisy, and this needs to be a place where you can escape from that and turn down the volume of the outside world so that you can get ready for your next great adventure. You probably have books, movies, and music, and foods, and art, crafts, etc. that are like comfort to you. You have those movies that you watch over and over again, and you strive to create a warm and welcoming environment for anyone that you invite into your home. And it's very likely that because you're so sensitive, in order to develop this sensitivity, you had to care for someone else from a very early age, whether that's a sibling, a parent, or another relative. You probably got really attuned to cues and emotions of other people, which helped you develop this like insanely strong intuition and response to different energies. I had to take a break because someone just texted me that Taylor Swift is headlining the Super Bowl, and I went online and they have not confirmed in any sort of way that Taylor Swift is headlining the Super Bowl. But I got my hopes up, and now you have to as well. I really hope she does. That would be so cool. Anyway, moving on to the next house, which is your 5th house of Aries, ruled by Mars. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It has so much like ready to go, unjaded energy, like me, I'm doing what I want. I don't care about anything else. And what that means in your 5th house of hobbies and creativity and entrepreneurship and romance and children is that you were put on this earth to do what you want. You were not put here to emulate anyone else, to copy things that other people did. You are here to chart and to follow your own path that is authentic to who you truly are. Fiery and passionate Aries on the 5th house of romance means that dating you is a fun, exciting adventure. Anyone you date gets a chance to explore new things and go on adventures together. And because of your 2nd house Capricorn, you are very picky about who you spend your time with. But once you decide that someone is worth spending your time with, they had better be ready for the ride of their lives. And famous Sagittarius rising Kesha's music really reminds me of like this. Wham bam, thank you ma'am, get inside my fucking gold Trans Am. You're very direct and honest in the way that you express your feelings, which not everyone likes, but the people who don't like it are not the right people for you. And one of the least attractive things to you in a potential partner is indecision. You want and need and deserve a lover who is just as passionate and daring and decisive as you are. And you feel this really deep longing for like a partner because when you find the right partner, they will give you a place to jump off of where you can explore even more adventurous things and create even more amazing work and follow your ambition even more. Like it really lights a fire under you where you can go and explore everything the world has to offer. And as a Sagittarius rising, it is very easy to attract suitors to yourself. Your good looks, incredible legs, sparkling eyes, friendly open face, and joyful demeanor has the boys or the girls lining up to get a chance to talk to you. So you've got options, but are they good enough for you is the question. And the 5th house also talks about children. So if you choose to have children, you will really encourage their playfulness, their creative self-expression, their authenticity. You'll encourage them to have a really strong sense of self, to not fear anything, and to feel empowered in everything they do. Moving on to your 6th house, Taurus, which is about the things that you do every day, which is about the work that you do every day, like for your job or whatever you do to make money. But it's also about chores, paying bills, mundane rituals, and like skincare and health and wellness and fitness and pets. And Taurus on the 6th house means that your comfort is so important to you. You are on a constant journey in all of your adventures throughout this world, throughout your lifetime, to find the things that bring you the most pleasure and comfort. And you also like to distance yourself from the things that impact you negatively and don't inspire pleasure or comfort. You have all of your Sagittarius rising like big dreams and really quick mind and intuitive connections. But when you actually sit down to do work, it's more in like the way of a Taurus. So more slow and steady and methodical and practical. You are once again very picky, and so you aren't going to waste your time entertaining anything that doesn't ultimately serve your vision and your goals. You'd rather spend a long time working on something and making it perfect than rushing through it and turning in something that's subpar. And because you desire comfort so much, you're more than happy to spend all day doing a long and lavish skincare routine and a lymphatic drainage massage and meditating and doing Pilates while procrastinating any sort of cleaning or any chore that you find repetitive or boring. But then you also have this feeling like you are never being productive enough and you should be doing more. Because Venus rules this house, you have a very good reputation in the workplace and usually can very easily make friends and form good relationships with like your colleagues. But the thing that tells you that you need to take a step back and get some perspective and see what's working and what's not is when you feel really stressed. A lot of stress is like in human design, it's called your not self theme, like the Sagittarius rising not self theme. When you are feeling like you're under a lot of stress, that is when you need to take a step back, look at things from your Sag perspective instead of the very practical, like down in the mud Taurus of it all, and be like, what can I not be doing so hard? What can I be doing better? Because once again, you are Jupiter ruled. Like a lot of the hoops that most people have to jump through, you can avoid because Jupiter is just like a big balloon. So it will fly you up and above the hoops and you can just go right over them. But you have to remember that that's possible. Being Jupiter ruled is all about taking a leap of faith and believing that the ground is going to be there when you land. And sometimes you need to do that with your work. You need to look at what you're doing and be like, I'm spending way too much time and energy on this one thing. What if like the best case scenario happened and I could do the least of this possible? What would that look like? And then you'll find shortcuts. We are now at the second half, the other side of your birth chart, which is your 7th house Gemini. The first house is me, your eye, and the eye, the lens through which you see the world. And so the 7th house is the opposite. It's you. It's how you interact with other people. Gemini is a very intellectual and contrarian sign, which means that you naturally drift towards people who have like Gemini air sign qualities, people who are very smart and who do like to challenge their own perspectives and other people's perspectives and have these like debates and discussions so that you can each learn more about how another person thinks. Conversations with you are thrilling because you never know where the conversation is going to take you, and that is the magic of a 7th house Gemini. Gemini is always thirsty for new information, and they get very restless if they do or think about or study the same thing for too long. And so you are constantly looking for new people and new information to broaden your mind, to learn new things, and prevent you from falling into an intellectual rut. Gemini has a problem with commitment. This often shows up in charts of people who have a Gemini Venus, but Gemini on the 7th house in general indicates a struggle with commitment. And this is not necessarily a fear of commitment, but it is more of like a you are so independent and free thinking as a person that entering a relationship has to be with the right person because you don't want any sort of restriction on your freedom. You need to find a partner who values the same things you do, who values adventure, who values journeys, who values information and learning, because you need someone who's able to do those things alongside you and not make you feel like a bad person for just like wanting a lot of information all the time. And this goes hand in hand, of course, with the people that you are naturally drawn to. You are naturally drawn to very intellectual and smart people who are very witty, who are very clever, who have very sharp minds. I think it's interesting. My best friend is a Sagittarius rising. I'm a Gemini moon. And I miss her so much, like all the time, because there's no one that I can talk to like I talk to her. Like we have such quick minds and we make connections so quickly. And that's like the beauty of our friendship, I feel like. But when people don't have strong Gemini placements or like strong air placements, when people are really earth heavy, for example, that's someone that I struggle with. I'm like, I need to talk faster. Like, why are we still talking about this thing we were talking about 20 minutes ago? Keep the conversation moving. I would be 5 topics along this thread if I was talking to my best friend right now. Because the people that you as a Sagittarius rising are drawn to are the people that are going to make any experience, even like the most boring thing in the world, into an exciting and daring adventure, because you can create it that way in your mind and just play it out as if that's the reality. The last thing that you want to do with your time is spend it around someone who is boring and unimaginative. And for this reason, you have to be so careful when you're choosing a partner, a romantic partner, especially if you're doing any sort of like legal ties, like getting married. You do not want to be legally tied to someone who doesn't match you or challenge you intellectually. That is not what you want. If you're with someone and like things are good, but that intellectual connection isn't there, move on. There is going to be someone better for you out there. And even if you don't find them, like I'd rather be single forever than be stuck in a relationship with someone who doesn't get me and who doesn't think as fast as me. Your 8th house, which is another hidden house, a house that can't be seen from the ascendant, the natural house of Scorpio. It's all about other people's money and like shared assets, sexual intimacy, and it's also about like death and transformation and rebirth. Not physical death, but yes, physical death, but also like death of one version of yourself that needs to be let go so that you can become a new version of yourself. And that's part of a Sagittarius rising's life story. Like you have all of these different lives and you transform and you are born into someone who's different, who has a different basis of wisdom, and you have to let the old version of yourself go. But your 8th house is Cancer, and Cancer is such like a maternal sign. Cancer is ruled by the moon, so it is pretty volatile. Like it has a lot of changes. Cancer has the crab shell. It's very emotional, but doesn't like to be vulnerable. But because it's so maternal, you need to feel needed, to feel important. Once again, because you are so future oriented and spend so much time thinking about things that no one has ever thought about before, it's hard to feel needed. You're not really working on things that people need right now, and that can be really difficult for you. You can even fall into a trap of thinking that your work is unimportant, but that's not true. That's just how it feels when you're a pioneer. People aren't going to need the things that you are creating right now. They'll need them a few years down the line. You're going to have already moved on to the next thing and still be thinking 3 years ahead. Cancer on the 8th, once again, indicates that you are incredibly intuitive and sensitive to energies and emotions. And because of your past experiences and trauma, being vulnerable with other people feels really scary to you. This is when you put on that Cancerian crab claw. Oh my gosh, I'm wearing crab hair clips. Can you see them? This is my Cancer for you today. But anyway, when someone expects you to be vulnerable, you put on your crab shell and you're like, no, I will not be vulnerable because I am scared. You probably have very strong fears of like betrayal and abandonment in your personal life. You might have had that happen to you before and it's developed a really deep wound. Although your greatest fear is also your greatest desire. You really want a very close relationship with someone where you feel safe being vulnerable and showing all of your emotions and your weaknesses, and you're not worried that they're going to be turned against you. You want a relationship where you both are vulnerable with and fiercely protect each other. And the thing is that Sagittarius risings love intimacy and love sex, but you can't truly enjoy your intimacy and sex life. You might have fun, but you can't truly deeply enjoy it unless you have that really strong emotional connection with someone and can feel vulnerable with them and protected by them. One of your greatest strengths is that you have a really innate capacity for healing and transformation that you can use on yourself and you can also use on others. Careers where you help other people, counselor, therapist, emotional healer, energy healer can be really good paths for you because you have such a sensitive intuition. You can pick up on things that people are feeling, and you also have an innate understanding of the emotional transformation and healing that will help that person get better. And finally, Cancer is so protective of family, once again, very maternal. And so anyone that you consider family, whether that's biological or non-biological, you will protect them with your life. Like, you are defending the castle. You are staying out front and being like, you do not fuck with the people that I love. That is your thing as a Sagittarius rising. It's just not a side that people see from me very often because the 8th house really only comes to the forefront of your personality, of your life, when you're in crisis situations, which hopefully don't happen to you that often. Moving on to our final set of the elements, we have your 9th house, which is ruled by Leo, ruled by the sun. Leo is a sign that seeks public appreciation and acceptance, and the 9th house is all about your belief systems. The 9th house is the natural house of Sagittarius, so it has a lot of similar significations. This helps you filter your mind, though, because this world is broad and vast. Like, there are many, many things that you could believe or study or learn in this lifetime. But the sun ruling your 9th house really helps to filter it down to the belief systems and like the areas that garner you the most social attention and acceptance. You want to do your Sag thing very visibly in the spotlight. You are not someone who's like behind closed doors, locked in a library, like reading philosophy books. No, you need to be reading and talking and sharing at the same time. That is very you. You're like, I have all of this intellect and these talents and these capabilities, and I need to share them with the world. And the world needs you to share them with us. So thank you for doing your thing. No one wants you in a locked library studying philosophy till kingdom come or whatever. Is that a biblical reference? I don't believe in that God. So like, keep doing your thing. But the danger here is that if you don't stay grounded, you may fall into a trap of believing that the thing that you believe is the ultimate truth and you have all the power. And that can lead to like arrogance and dogmatism. Pluto in Sagittarius was when 9/11 happened, like rampant Islamophobia. That's the dark side of Sagittarius, being really dogmatic. So you don't want to fall into that trap. You love to travel and connect with other cultures. You have never met a tourist trap that you liked. You like to interact with people in their day-to-day life in their culture, not some like sanitized, Americanized version of what that culture is. Your travels are some of your best and warmest memories and are so important to serve as inspiration for everything else that you do in this life. The art you create, the words you write, your philosophy that you spread with other people. And one of your biggest blessings as a Sag rising is that you are so able to speak so passionately about the things that you're interested in that it inspires other people, not necessarily to be passionate about that thing, but they're like, I want to be able to speak that passionately and that enthusiastically about the things that I love. Like, you inspire other people to deepen their connection to philosophy or art or whatever really interests them because they want to have your passion for a subject. It's really aspirational. Your 10th house is Virgo, ruled by the planet Mercury, which is actually in detriment in Sagittarius, but is exalted in the sign of Virgo. Your 10th house, again, is about your career, your reputation, your public-facing life. And Virgo is a very critical and perfectionistic sign. And this means that you can be very cynical in your public-facing life. Like, if someone comes to you and they're talking about something, then you're like, that's crazy. Like, that's chaotic. You're going to be like, flesh that out and then come back to me. You're not going to entertain something until it makes sense to you. Although in your career, because you have Virgo on your 10th house, you have a reputation for being very reliable and very responsible. You have such a strong commitment to your work and to perfection that it can garner a lot of support and respect from your peers and your superiors, while at the same time driving you absolutely bananas. Once again, that 6th house Taurus, which makes a trine to Virgo in the 10th house lesson here of, if you are stressed, take a step back, get some perspective and figure out what's working and what's not working, is so important here, because you can have a tendency to lean on like substance use as a way to make the chaotic world more manageable for your Virgo perfectionistic public facing self side, that it's better to get ahead of things and like put coping mechanisms that are healthier than substance use in place for when you're feeling really stressed, so you don't just like lean back on alcohol and drugs and whatever. Because you can be so critical of yourself and others, you can really like get angry at people, especially when they boast and brag about their skills and their accomplishments. Like that makes you want to be like, prove it, show me, and like take them down a peg, especially if they're boasting from a place of like hot air. Basically, they haven't done anything to garner that. So you need to try to remove yourself from those situations, especially in the workplace, before you like get a reputation as someone who's really combative. And you can lean more into like Mercury ruling your 10th house, analysis, research, detail orientation, all things that you are really, really good at, especially in like the workplace, things that you're known for. But at the end of the day, having Virgo on your 10th house means that you are not competing with anyone else. The only person that you are really seeking acknowledgement and approval from is yourself, that one very important person. And just remember that self-compassion is super important, and you can be so critical of yourself, but you can also be of service to yourself. Virgo is a healer. Virgo is all about service. You can use that like service that you've traditionally thought can only be external, that you can only help other people. You can use it on yourself. You can help yourself. You can be very, very kind to yourself. And that should help combat this like Virgo criticism in the harder moments. Second to last, we have the 11th house, which is Libra. And the 11th house is opposite the 5th house. Libra on the 11th, opposite Aries on the 5th. Aries is all about me, I do what I want. Libra on the other side cares a lot what other people think of it. And so it's where you take accountability socially, basically, for the things that you do in your 5th house. Libra also ruled by Venus, like very artistic, very into aesthetics. And so you as a Sag rising have such an incredible capability to look around you in the world and to identify places where you fit in. You are able to identify people that you think have a similar like aesthetic and similar vibe as you and fit into those places. Some people can look at this from the outside and be like, that person is elitist. Like they only want to hang out with people who went to certain schools or have achieved a certain level of education, but it's not elitist. It's you understanding very innately and intuitively where you are going to fit in and who you are going to like most feel like yourself around. You know that you are going to shine your brightest when you're around intellectual people who also seek to broaden their own horizons and perspectives. And because you have Virgo on your 10th house, you can also tend to lean into like rationality and details and like forego your creative side. So something that's really important, especially with Venus ruling your 11th house, is finding friends and creating and being a part of friend groups that really encourage you to use your creativity. You have so much of it. It can just get lost in the shuffle when that Virgo comes to the forefront. Libra is also all about equality and justice, and you are a very loyal and supportive friend. You are very empathetic, and you also hate injustice. Like race, class, age, disability status, things like that don't really like matter to you. Like you don't look at people and be like, oh, they're below me because of this reason. You really firmly believe that everyone is equal, and so you get really mad when you see injustice in this world and are always going to stick up for the underdog. And then finally, you have a very natural diplomacy and like tact to you because of Libra. So you're very good at mediating conflicts between friends or peers or groups of people in a way that everyone gets something that they want so that everyone walks away satisfied. And finally, we have reached the end. Your 12th house is Scorpio. Honestly, I think Scorpio is an amazing sign to have in the 12th house. It's nice being a fire rising because you have the same element of sign in like its natural house. You have a fire sign in the first house, an earth sign in the second house, an air sign in the third house, and a water sign in the fourth house. And then that continues around the circle. And the 12th house is a water house, and Scorpio is a water sign. I think it's a really good placement to have. And the 12th house is about behind the scenes life. It's about the things that you do when you get home and you're all alone in your room with the lights off. It's about your subconscious. It's also traditionally associated with mental institutions and hospitals and prisons. It's really just like the darkest parts of our society and psychologically our brain, our subconscious. Your biggest secret as a Sagittarius rising with Scorpio on the 12th is that you fear so deeply being controlled by other people that it leads you to exert a lot of control over your own life. You're obsessed with the way that external factors and other people manipulate you and impact you and subconsciously limit you. And this can make you like paranoid about those things. You have a hard time existing in the world without feeling like someone's trying to take you down. And because of this, you hide your trauma because you're so worried that your trauma or your weaknesses or any experience will be used against you, which is so different from the strength and bravery and charm that you exude. You're just not like naturally predisposed to be vulnerable and let people know about the hard things and the trauma and the experiences that you've gone through that made you this strong and adventurous and brave. And you do not ever need to be vulnerable with the world or with other people if you don't want to be. You never have to be grateful for your trauma or anything that you've been through. But it is important, at least to yourself, like in a journal or in a meditation or something, that you acknowledge and you process all the trauma that you've been through and all the ways that has made you stronger. And also, you know, the things that made you sacrifice, the horrible experiences you had and how they really affected you, because you need to understand that. You need to process that so you can move forward. You have been through hell and back, so there's nothing you can't accomplish. You are resilient. And so you need to like know that like so deeply, because knowing how resilient you are will prepare you to go on these great adventures that you're so capable of. And then the last thing I'll say about this is that you have the scorpionic gift of being able to really see people. Through whatever mask or persona they put on, you can see right to the very core of them. You can look at a very shy, timid person and be like, that girl has a ton of power. She just doesn't know about it yet, but she has it in her. And at the same time, you can look at someone who seems really confident, like they really are self-assured, and see right through and be like, that person is so deeply insecure. They are putting on a show because they don't want other people to know that they're insecure, but they're very deeply insecure and they don't have the accomplishments and the foundation to back up all this hot air they're spewing. People should honestly fear you if they're not being authentic, because you will see right through them. Anyway, this has been the Popstrology Sagittarius Rising Survival Guide. I hope this was helpful. Once again, Sagittarius Risings are one of my absolute favorite rising signs. I love you guys very much. If you're interested in getting some personalized intel and insight into your own birth chart, I would love to do a birth chart reading for you. You can book a reading with me at popstrologypod.com/readings or directly on my booking page at calendly.com/popstrology. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on TikTok and Instagram at popstrologypod, as well as my personal Instagram page, which is at astrojessie_. Anyway, I love you so much, and I will see you very soon for Capricorn Rising, the rising sign of the one and only Taylor Swift and many other wonderful people. I love you so much and have a great week. Bye.